A quick revision of chapter 8, and its name is How Do Organisms Reproduce? And first of all, what is reproduction? Reproduction is the process by which living organisms produce new individuals of the same kind. Now the question arises, what is the importance of reproduction? If reproduction is not there, then what happened? So reproduction is necessary for survival and increase in the population of the species. If organisms do not reproduce, their population decreases and species will become extinct. So sexual reproduction is of the two types. One is the sexual, other is asexual. Sexual reproduction or asexual reproduction, first of all we will discover about asexual reproduction. It is the process where only the single parent is involved and there is no formation of gamete. So there are the different kinds of asexual reproduction. One is the fission, second is fragmentation, third is regeneration, fourth budding, fifth is spore formation, and the sixth is vegetative propagation. Now we will discuss one by one. First of all, fission. The term fission means to divide, and fission is this asexual reproduction by which the unicellular organism divide and form two or more new individuals. It is of the two types. One is binary fission, other is multiple fission. Binary fission is that where the parent cell, for example in amoeba, parent cell divided into two daughter cells, and first the nucleus divides and then form the two nuclei, and then the cytoplasm also divide and form the two daughter cells, like in amoeba and paramecium as well as leishmania. These are the example of binary fission. And next is multiple fission. Multiple fission is taking place in the unicellular organisms, where the single cell organisms divide into many daughter cells, and each daughter cell form a new organism, and the parent cell breaks down and leaves many daughter cells, like in the plasmodium you can see many daughter cells are further divided into parent cell divided into further many daughter cells. This is about multiple fission. Now the next is fragmentation. What is about fragmentation? It is the method where the parent body divides into several fragments, means parts, and each part again develop into new organisms like Spirogyra. This is the example of fragmentation. This is the parent Spirogyra. When it divides into two parts, again new Spirogyra is developed. Now the next is regeneration. Regeneration is the power of growing new organisms. When the body of the organism cut into two parts, each part again develops into a new individual organisms, just like in Hydra. If we cut into 2, 3, 4 or many parts, then again different organisms in complete form is developed. Now the next process is budding. Budding is the method where a bud-like projection is formed on the body of the organism, just like in Hydra. This bud is formed, and after maturation this bud or the bud develops into a new individual, and it separates from the parent and form a new independent individual, and it occurs in Hydra and yeast. And the next one is spore formation. In this method, during unfavorable conditions, the organism develops sac-like structure that are called sporangia, this one, which contain many spores, and when the conditions become favorable, it becomes mature. Then this sporangia burst open and spores are released, and these spores again germinated to give rise to new organisms. So this is about the spore formation. And the last one is vegetative propagation. In the vegetative propagation, asexual reproduction in the plants occurs through their vegetative parts, just like roots, leaves, stem, bud, and this is vegetative propagation. For example, through the stem, potatoes and ginger can be grown, and roots, sweet potato root is used to develop the new sweet potatoes. Bryophyllum, you can see the bud develop in the plant, or the leaf of the plant is converted into a new plant again. And you can do, on the basis of above content, do some questions that is given below. Now the next one is sexual reproduction. What is the sexual reproduction? Sexual reproduction is a mode of reproduction which takes place with the involvement of two individuals of different sexes, like male and female. And during sexual reproduction, male organisms produces male gametes that are called sperms, and female organisms produce female gametes that are called ova or eggs. Male and female gametes fuse together, these form zygote, and that grow into a new organism. This is about the process of sexual reproduction. What is the significance of sexual reproduction? First one is it increases the chances of genetic variations. It results in the origin of new species as well as it maintains DNA in the species. Now this is about the sexual reproduction in human beings, and we will discuss about the sexual reproduction in flowering plant. In flowering plant, the reproductive parts are present in the flower, and the part of the flower are sepals, petals, stamen and carpel. Sepals are green structures that protect the inner part when the flower is in the bud stage. Petals are colorful and attract the insects for pollination. Stamens are male reproductive parts and produce pollen grains that contain male gametes. And each stamen has two parts. One is filament, that is stalk, and anther, the swollen part of the plant where the number of pollen grains are present. Carpel is the female reproductive part and produce ovules that contain female gametes. It has three parts: stigma, style and ovary. And each ovule has an egg that is called female gamete. Now we will discuss the different parts of the flower. This is the female reproductive organ which contains stigma, style, ovary and ovule. You can see this part is the female reproductive part. This is the stigma, this is style and this is ovule. Ovary contains small dots that you can see. These are called ovules or egg or ova. And the different is the female reproductive parts in the flower is, this is about the male reproductive part, this one. You can see anther, filament, and anther and the filaments are the two parts. Anther contain pollen grains. This is about the male reproductive part. And the flower which in which both male and the female taking place, that is called the bisexual flower. Flowers are of the two types, unisexual and bisexual. So hibiscus, rose, China rose or mustard, they are the bisexual flowers, and the papaya and the watermelon, they have the unisexual, either stamen or carpel, or in the bisexual both the parts are present. Now how the flowers in flowers pollination occurs. What is pollination? First of all, pollen, the process of transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma of the flower is called pollination. And pollination are the two types. One is the self pollination, other is cross pollination. When the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to stigma, male to female, taking place in the same flower, means just like your bisexual flower, hibiscus, China rose, that is self pollination. If there is one flower is here, one flower is there, and pollen grains come to the stigma of the female, that is called cross pollination, because the different flowers, unisexual flowers are there. And after pollination, fertilization is taking place in the flower, and in the fertilization, it is the process of fusion of male and female gamete to form zygote. And this event occur, pollen grains land on the stigma of the ovary. These are the pollen grain, this is the stigma, they land here. And when the pollen tubes grow out of the pollen grains, they travel through the style. This is the style, pollen tube is called style, and it reaches to the ovary. Here is the ovary, there is there. Pollen tube releases two male gametes, germs, cells inside the ovule, and one of them fuses with the female germ cell and form a zygote which grows into the baby plant, that is called embryo. And after fertilization, post fertilization changes we can see that take place in the flower. First one is zygotes divide into several times and form a embryo inside the ovule, and the ovule changes into seeds. Here seed development takes place, and the ovary ripens to form fruit, and the different parts of the flower like petal, sepal, stamen, style, stigma, they shrivel and fall off because there is no requirement of these when seed is converted into fruit. Now how reproduction in human beings takes place. Now we will discuss about the male reproductive organs and the female reproductive organs. So male reproductive system consists of pair of testes and the system of duct, that is the vas deferens and sperm duct or urethra. There are the two glands, seminal vesicle or prostate gland, and the penis. This is about the male reproductive system and how it takes place. One of the pair of the testes are present in a bag-like structure. These are the testes which are present in the bag-like structure, that is called scrotum, and which lies outside the abdominal cavity, because the testes have to maintain the temperature 1 to 3 degree temperature than the normal body temperature in order to produce functional sperm. And what are the functions of testes? To produce sperm as well as male reproductive hormones that are called testosterone, which are responsible for the primary changes in the boys, just like growing of the beard and the mustaches. Other is function of vas deferens. It is meant for the passage of the sperm in the male body. And function of glands, they produce different secretions which provide nutrition as well as medium for the locomotion of the sperm. As well as secretion of the glands along with the sperm is called semen. Next one is functions of urethra. It is the common passage of outflow of the semen and urine through the body. And penis is the organ which is used to introduce semen into the female body, and it is richly supplied with the blood vessels. This is about the male reproductive system. Now the female reproductive system, and it contains pair of ovaries, fallopian tube or oviduct, uterus, that is called also womb, and vagina or the birth canal. These are the two ovaries in the female reproductive. This is the fallopian tube where fertilization takes place, uterus where the baby remains for the 9 months, cervix is the passage which open in the vagina, and vagina is also called the birth canal through which the baby come out from the mother's womb after 9 months. So this is about the process. And what are the functions of ovary? To produce or to release ova, as well as to produce hormone that is called estrogen. And functions of fallopian tube is site of fertilization. What is the function of uterus? Site of development of embryo. And vagina, uterus opens into the vagina through the cervix, and vagina is a muscular tube through which the baby is delivered at the end of 9 months, that I had discussed earlier. And what is about placenta? Most important. Placenta is disc-like tissue and which is embedded in the uterine wall inside the uterus, and the embryo get nutrition from the mother's blood with the help of this special tissue that is called placenta. And it contains so many finger-like villi which help to absorb the oxygen or nutrients from the mother's blood and supply oxygen to the child, as well as remove the waste product from the child to mother's blood and go out. Now next is there the reproductive health. What is about reproductive health? Why there is a need of reproductive health? Because there are so many things which always make the adverse effect in the health of the child or the girl child. That is the sexual transmitted disease. A number of diseases occur as a result of sexual intercourse if one of the partner is infected. These are known as sexually transmitted diseases. For example, the male is sufferer of HIV/AIDS, then the female also will be affected by this AIDS because they are sexually intercourse. So they can be caused by bacteria. Diseases are syphilis and gonorrhea, and some diseases which are caused by the virus, that is HIV/AIDS and the warts. And this transmission of disease can be avoided by using the birth control measures as well as wearing the condom during the sexual act. And birth control measures can be done with the help of 3 methods. One is the mechanical method, chemical method, and surgical method. What are these methods? First one is mechanical method. In the mechanical method, we will use condom as intrauterine contraceptive device or loop, copper T, etc. Chemical methods. In chemical method, the males can use spermicides and the females can use contraceptive pills. As well in surgical method, male and female both can undergo to the surgical methods for the birth rate control, and that is in the male, this is vasectomy. It involves cutting and ligating the vas deferens in male, and in female it involves cutting and ligating reproductive organs, that is fallopian tube in female, that is called tubectomy. And what are the advantages of contraception? It helps in birth control, prevent the sexually transmitted disease, prevent unwanted pregnancies, and keep population explosion in check, as well as control the ratio of birth rate of girl and boys. So this is about the reproduction. How do organisms reproduce? That is asexual and sexual reproduction. I hope you understood the concept very clearly. Keep watching Super Vigyan. Thank you so much.